Hello everyone and welcome to Stillwater. This is a visual novel game where it's a combination of horror and mystery. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. I am sorry, but I can't stay here anymore, Nina. I feel like I'm going crazy. Calm down. We can just talk it out. So many strange things keep happening one after another. Every day there is this damn dripping sound. I thought it was just something leaking at first, but I check every faucet, every ceiling, everything, and still I hear it everywhere, constantly echoing in my ears. Please listen to me. But the water, the damn water. Water? Yes, it's everywhere. Pools of it are all over the house, and every time I try to mop it all up, another will appear. There's no end to it. But it is at night. It is at night when it comes. What are you talking about? I hear someone or something walking along the hallways at night. Maybe it's just my grandfather. No, Nina, it's not him. I thought it was, but it's not. But I seen it. That thing. I only glimpsed at it once, but I'm more than certain that thing was not your grandfather. Ever since that night, I would lock my door and pray it would walk past my room. I don't know what's going on, but I swear, it just keeps walking, always walking on pools of water. Sometimes I hear them randomly. Their steps are erratic and faint, but I can still hear them. Just this steady pace up and down the halls. But I think recently it's no longer like that. What do you mean? Every morning, I follow to see where the wet footprints lead. It walks towards something more clearly than before. It would walk down the halls, climb the stairs, and turn corners. All of it I follow. Eventually, the trail would come to a stop, and it would all stop right by your grandfather's room. His room? If this is some sick joke to scare me away, then please stop. It's not a joke, Nina. I meant when I said that there is something wicked going on in this house. That can't be true. I know this is a lot, but you have to believe me. I can't stay here any longer. I'm sorry, Nina. It's okay. I understand. Thank you for taking care of my grandfather up until now. And I'm sorry for all the stress I caused you. I'll be sure to pay you right away as soon as I... Nina, listen to me. I don't know what's happening around here, but... The woman on the phone cautiously looks around, turning her head constantly back and forth, looking over her shoulder to find if any others listening in. She grips the phone so close to her ear in a vice-like grip before speaking again in a hushed tone. Something terrible is lurking in this house. I don't know what it is, but please, as soon as you get back, take your grandfather and just leave this place. Leave? I can't just leave everything behind. We have nowhere else to go. Please, Nina, this place is not safe. The rumors, they are true. The curse is real. My family is not cursed. But Nina, at this rate, you and your family will... Enough! A pause. Cold and sharp tenseness reigns the call as both women, exhausted and stressed beyond their comfort, try to stifle their growing frustrations towards one another. Neither yielding to the other's thought, only leaving anger and hurt to fester through the silence. After what feels like a suffocating stillness, Nina finally sighs heavily and responds bluntly to the caretaker. Look, I don't know what you heard or saw, but I can't just leave things like this. Whoever or whatever they are, they will answer to me. I won't let them have their way. I don't have time wasting my energy on this stupid curse. So, if you can't help me, then so be it. I find a way. Nina. My grandfather is all I have left. He's all I have left. Diner, 7 o'clock. Amid a foggy morning, there sits a man by the corner of a booth. He drinks black coffee and, depending on his mood, occasionally orders a donut. And today, it was just black coffee. I swear I've never seen that amount of paperwork in my life. A freaking mountain worth of it. You're a valuable member of our team, Hugo. My foot. I'm starting to believe that I was bamboozled into joining their agency. Hugo Laurent, age 30, takes a good look at his cup of joe and chugs it all in one sitting. He then continues to grumble to himself about last night's grueling work at the office. I really need to find a different job. As he contemplates his poor life choices, he looks out towards the early mist. There is something inherently terrifying about the fog to him, how it engulfs everything and nothing. Even if it disappears, always leaves behind traces, proof of its remaining. Even in a quaint little town like this, I can't even run from my fate, I guess. Hugo finally stares at the compiled newspaper clipping he put together. Some of them from recent events, but mainly all were past headlines of missing person cases. No matter how many times I see this, it's still just as hard to look at. Fixating case after case, he can't help but remind himself that there is a reason for all of this, and an all too personal reason. Seeing strange things come with a price. In the end, I'm the one doing this to myself. Sounds rough. Mind if I join? Kuya? An annoyingly familiar voice interrupts his train of thought. He slowly looks up to see the one responsible, although reluctantly. Good morning, Hugo. Hugo scrolls and turns away from him. He then gathers the files and shoves it back into the binder. Meanwhile, the tall man takes this as an initiative and sits at the opposite end of the booth. He greets the waiter passing by and orders himself a hefty body breakfast special with an extra plate. As usual, the waitress is happy to oblige and goes back to the counter to relay his order. The man then looks back at Hugo. He sees the empty cup and now jumbled newspaper clippings. All the while, Hugo is trying to ignore him. You really should eat something with that black coffee. Not ordering any donuts today? I'm fine, Noah. I'm just not in the mood, okay? Not even a little? There's a momentary silence between them before Noah disturbs it once more. Well, too bad for you. I ordered a big breakfast for the two of us. Two? As if the world could grace Noah with an even more perfect punchline, the food arrives. Why the hell do you order for the two of us? Just eat what you want to eat, don't worry about me. Wow. Mukkang mah sahrub, right, Hugo? Are you even listening to me? Come on. We both know that if you don't eat now, who knows when you will. And I'm not about to let you faint again. So, open wide. Noah DeLeon, age 27, a natural-born charmer, is also the only person in the world who lovingly threatens him to eat every day. With a pensive look, Hugo finally gives in and eats the generous spoonful without further complaints. It's good, right? Good food will always help cheer you up. Damn him, I got swept away again. Oh, by the way, the chief will be out for a business trip. She mentioned it'll be for a couple of days. When did she tell you this? I didn't hear anything about it. Yesterday, I think? Yesterday? She told me to sort out the cabinets yesterday. She didn't mention anything about a business trip. I guess it was a pretty sudden one. Well, I mean, she did tell me to tell you. And lucky me, I know where you go every morning. You know what? I'm not surprised anymore. Well, what do you want to do? We technically have the day off. I'm gonna head back to the office. There's a couple of boxes I didn't get the chance to sort out. In that case, I'll come with you. Why? You could just rest for the day. And pass up this opportunity to get to know you better? Kuya. Cool. Quit it. After their enlightening banter, the two of them finish their breakfast, pay for their meals, and head to Hugo's car. As Noah opens the door to the passenger seat, he notices a bloodhound sleeping inside. The big dog stirs at the sound of the car opening and lazily stares at Noah. I'm sorry, big guy. He then closes the door while trying not to make too much noise to disturb his occupant. Colby. The sound of his name, his heavy-lidded eyes slowly peek to see who calls for him. It is his one and only partner, his human. As if finally realizing who he is or where he is, the old bloodhound stirs up from his sleep, bounces at Hugo and proceeds to wag his tail uncontrollably. Woof. Good morning again, Colby. Had a nice nap? Colby, 8 years old, Hugo's most faithful and loving partner in crime, has the biggest tendency to just sleep all over the place. Noah, who is witnessing all of this from the back seat, chuckles to himself. He's amazed and slightly defeated at Hugo's sudden surge of energy. Ha! It doesn't matter how many times I try. When it comes to boosting up his mood, no one can beat Colby. Agency, 7:50 a.m. The three head back to the office. The space is just the same as Hugo left it. A decent, organized mess. To his credit, for the amount of boxes he painstakingly went through, he believes he did a fair job. Albeit, it could have been better. Wow, you really outdid yourself, Hugo. It looks less crowded. Ugh, shut it, Julio. I said I was gonna get to it. Thanks, boy. Before Hugo could continue to give deserved headpats, he noticed someone. A woman stands timidly peering outside from the storefront. She looks a bit frantic and even more restless with her shelved and ill-fitted clothes, drawing emphasis to her already visible petite frame. The woman tries to grasp the door handle several times, but stops before she could touch it. Her brows furrow, agitated and distressed about something. So much at the point is preventing her from just simply reaching out for help. However, when she finally makes eye contact with Hugo, she immediately rushes in. I'm so sorry. I know that the close sign's up, but I saw you come in and I... Are you alright, miss? I need your help. My grandfather, he... Before she can continue explaining, Noah swiftly cuts in front of Hugo and intervenes, and all too practiced manner. It's okay, miss. We hear what you have to say. So please, why don't you sit right over there? Noah gestures to one of the empty seats at the other side of the office. The poor woman hesitates for a moment. She clutches desperately to the strap of her purse, her eyes focusing breathlessly on them and at the gestured seat. After mulling over Noah's offer, she quickly glances back and nods. The woman then walks towards the corner of the room and sits at the edge of the sofa. Her posture is weary and tense, giving no sign of comfort for even this brief moment of peace. Can you start by telling us your name? I apologize for earlier. I'm usually a bit more composed than this, but I guess I'm failing at that too. My name is Nina Mortimer. Oh, hello, Miss Nina. My name is Noah DeLeon, and I am one of the assistants here. The big guy next to you is our other lovely assistant, Colby. And the one brooding over here is private investigator Hugo Laurent. I'm not brooding, I'm just tired. And our chief is away on business, but I think we can still accommodate you. So, how can we help, Miss Nina? For just a moment, Nina appeared a bit more lax, more hopeful, maybe even relieved from this warm welcome. However, she once again tenses up. The guilt and shame comes rushing back to her, visible by the creases of her brow, as she once again realizes why she's here. I need help watching over my grandfather tonight. Tonight? Yeah, I know this is a strange request, but my hands are tight on this. It has to be tonight. I'm sorry, Miss Nina, but I don't quite understand. Is your grandfather in danger? I think someone is trying to take him away. Take him? Miss Nina, I think you should contact the police right away. They are far more equipped at handling these kind of situations. No, they're not. I tried requesting their help, but they're giving me the same answer verbatim for weeks now. They would send someone out to watch over the manor for an entire day, but by the end of the routine they would always report back, nothing unusual. They saw no one else leaving or arriving at the house other than me or the caretaker, and despite telling them all in details about the letter and all the strange things that has been happening, there's nothing they can do about it. But just sit around until it escalates even more. I can't wait any longer. Any more than this, then it'll be too late. If only I knew who Lewis was. Lewis? She lets out a gasp. Her hands shoot out to cover her mouth, realizing she had said too much so carelessly. She tries to avert their gaze, but Hugo stares persistently at her. Nina, who is Lewis? Are they the ones causing all of this? What's more, she contemplates, her brows knit closely together as she bites her lips nervously. It's as if the words she wanted to say have suddenly died out, too heavy to even utter. A mistake she can't take back. Before the silence stretches further, Noah speaks to Nina with a gentle and reassuring tone. Miss Nina, I know it is scary. All the things you mentioned to us so far, no one should ever have to experience, especially by themselves. And I assume you will listen to all of it. And I assure you, we will listen to all of it. I promise. Wild and manic eyes search deeply at them, trying desperately to discern any doubt or mistrust on their faces. However, all she sees are people who are willing to give their time to simply listen to her, to actually help her. From this alone, Nina looks to the side where her purse is and opens it. Tucked inside one of the pockets, she takes out a single, slightly crumpled envelope with a pigmented red wax seal pressed in the middle. At a glance, Hugo can tell right away that this letter appears to be a bit more worn out and antique. And yet, despite its delicate form, it remains well preserved, well kept. It is as if the letter itself was untouched by time, forever waiting to be opened. Grandfather has been receiving cryptic letters for the past month now. The letters didn't come with an address or the name of the sender. This one is different from the rest. This had the name Lewis on it. As she hands over the letter, Hugo notices her hand slightly shaking. Nina is still avoiding his gaze, but he knows she's trying in earnest. But before he could reach out his hand, he senses it. A faint shift in the room, unnoticeable to the others, but all too glaringly clear to him. There is something very wrong with this letter. Suddenly Hugo recoils his hand in a way in pain, like being struck with something sharp, so spontaneous, so memorable, that even if the pain disappears within seconds, a hint of it remains. Something so small akin to a prick from a rose's thorn, or more like a paper cut. Are you alright? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. No, I'm fine, Mr. Mortimer. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Hugo stares squarely at the cut. A thin red line starts to form slowly by the top of his index finger, trailing down and stopping just above the first crease. A red so clearly visible is taunting. That doesn't look like a normal paper cut. Let me get you a peanut. It's fine, Noah. I don't need one. But really, it's fine. It doesn't even hurt that much. Noah takes one look good at him before sighing, exasperated, and sitting back down in his chair, still eyeing on Hugo's hand. Hugo shrugs and returns his attention back to the letter, but this time, luckily, nothing happens. For it to reach all the way out here with just the letter alone is truly terrifying. Carefully, he removes the content of the envelope and unfolds it. First, it looks like any other normal written message. A person named Lewis is asking the other, Henry, to come meet him by the lake at midnight, needing to share something important with him. However, what is early striking about this is not the letter itself. Appearing at the bottom of the page, a message, scrawled unlike the rest, is then visible out to Hugo. A message that shouldn't be there. Remember our promise, Henry. When did you receive this letter? Yesterday. And your grandfather, where is he right now? He's currently back at the house with the caretaker. I promised them I wouldn't be out for too long. I made an agreement with them, you see. Oh, what sort of agreement? The caretaker we have now agreed to watch over my grandfather, but only during the day. Before nightfall, they would leave exactly at the same time. Before nightfall? I wanted to believe that this whole thing was an elaborate scheme to scare my family away. I know this sounds crazy, but at one point I thought everyone was in on it. The mail carriers, the officers, the caretakers. Everyone had a hand in making our family suffer. But this one was different. Up until now, I never heard of anyone by that name. Not a relative or a family friend, but I clearly know who grandfather is. If I don't do something about this, I'll lose him too. Just by uttering the words alone, Nina begins to break down. The stress, the anxiety, the fatigue, all of it finally catching up to her. Her body hunches forward, her hands pressed close to her eyes as she tries to cover the stream of tears running down her face. And as an act of comfort, Colby sits closer to Nina while Noah fetches tissues for her. Hugo, on the other hand, is puzzled. She said this whole thing had been going on for the past month, but something doesn't add up. And before nightfall, I think there's more to this she's not admitting. Whatever happened with that letter, I am more than certain that whoever or whatever Lewis is, they are coming for blood. Actually, let's see what happens if we reject the case. Hugo cast his face downward to stare directly at the ground in front of him, unable to look at Nina. The burden, the solitude, the madness. Hugo knows all of it too intimately. He suffers the same conflict that weighed heavily on her mind, and yet, in spite of this, it is too much for him. Like walking along a tightrope, with the ground void and unclear, vast and empty and dark. So very, very dark. No, I can't still do it. We can still do this. Before he could respond, a distant voice, so charming, so terribly commanding, binds him at the spot. It's already too late for them, you know? No, not here. A dull but yet distinct pulsating sound, so rhythmic in its tune, starts its maddening melody. From the top of his crown down to the base of his skull, he feels it, all present and daunting. Just let go. Let me help you. No, I can't do it. If you would just let me. Snake-like hands wrap around his head, so closely, squeezing ever so tightly that he can't help but try to shut his eyes from the pain. Such a kind person you are, Hugo. Hugo tries to ground himself. He tries to remind himself to breathe. A sweet and beloved friend. To remember there are other people that care for him. The joy and warmth of their company. I wish you could have done the same for me. To remember that he is here and present, that he is useless. Hugo, what's wrong? Tugging at Hugo's coat, Noah tries to catch his attention but fails as he notices something amiss. Hugo. There's a despondent look on Hugo's face, his eyes distinctly shrouded by the deep haze, as if lost in them. He won't budge, no matter how many times Noah tries to tug or shake him. He still will not respond. For Hugo, he can hear everything. Like a paralysis he can't wake from. His body sits there, motionless and detached from everything. Desperate and concerned, Noah returns to Nina and ushers in a sincere apology. I'm sorry, Miss Nina, but I don't think we can help you at the moment. If you would just come back a bit later, then we can. No, it's fine. There won't be next time. Hugo winces at her cold and blunt remark. No, wait, Miss Mortimer, please. Nina stands up abruptly from her seat. She wipes away the tears quickly from her reddened face with the sleeves of her coat and looks down. Once more, her tense and cold front-like demeanor returns to the front already. Once more, her tense and cold front-like demeanor returns to the forefront, already trying to forget and move on. Without so much as a word, she slightly bows her head towards them and walks out of the office. At once, looking back. Bad end, bullying strangers. Take the case or reject the case? Alright, we take the case. Do you want more tissues? We'll do it. We take on your case. For a moment, Everything goes still. Their eyes and attention are solely directed at Hugo, whose eyes have a certain glint to them, now unwavering and more determined than ever. Before anyone else speaks, Nina stands up, wipes away any stray tears from her face, and walks up to him. You'll take it? Hugo simply nods. Thank you, thank you. You don't know how much this means to me. We're glad to help, Miss Nina. Please, just call me Nina. Well, Nina, we'll do our best. Nina smiles at Hugo and knowing gratitude. Her eyes renew with a faint gleam. I hope that maybe things will change for her and her family for the better. However, before heading out, Nina reaches into her bag once more. She takes out a small piece of paper and a pen and hastily starts jotting down something. I'd best be on my way now. I'll let grandfather know ahead of time you'll be coming. Also, this is my address. I'll be sure to greet you all when you arrive. And thank you again. Truly. She politely bows to them and walks out of the office, already reaching into her purse for her car keys. Hugo watches from his desk as she goes to open the driver's seat. Nina looks back at the office window and takes one last look at Hugo. She waves slightly at him before finally pulling out the parking lot and driving off. Once out of sight, Hugo turns to look at his clustered desk. Still messy, but presentable. I guess I have to sort these out later again. Car, 5:30 p.m. From the ongoing downpour to the quiet hums of the car, they sit in silence. Still miles off their destination, Hugo constantly checks the rearview mirror to see any passing cars, but it was only them on the road. Noah, who usually chats his ear off by now, leans quietly against the car door as he looks out to the passing streetlights, reserved and distant. He hasn't said a word to Hugo since they left the office. Hey, you're a lot quieter than usual. What's wrong? Ha! What a surprise. Have you been looking at me, Kuya? No, you idiot. You should just talk a lot, that's all. So, do you miss me talking? Just say it. Do you believe her story? What? Given all of the things she told us, do you think she's telling the truth? Yes, I believe her, or at least, I believe she hasn't lied to us. But you know, I can't shake this feeling that she's hiding something. Like, if she left out certain details on purpose. Also, why did she have to travel this far out of town for a private eye? Surely there must have been another far closer to her home than ours. I just don't know how to explain it. As expected of you, Hugo. Are you making fun of me? No, not at all. I'm just admiring your observations. I didn't want to offend Nina earlier, so I kept quiet until she finished. But her last name caught me off guard. Have you heard about the Mortimers? They are a pretty distinguished family that owned an esteemed fishing company. Well, they used to, I believe. They have yet to name an heir. What do you mean? Shouldn't it naturally go to Nina? It should, but I don't know. From what I heard, each time they try to name a successor, that relative mysteriously disappears. Gone without a trace, or so anyone thought. Their bodies would soon turn up months after. And you know what's strange? All of them have been labeled as accidents by the local news. No foul play, just another unfortunate loss for the family. They've been struck with so many tragedies that over the time people began to believe that they were cursed or something. Cursed. I think I can understand why she wouldn't go to the police again. They most likely thought she was seeing things and went along with the procedure just to keep face. But deep down, they must have thought she had gone mad. I can't imagine all of this for Nina. And most of all, who knows what we'll find there. Is that why you decided to come with me? Well, partially. I'm more worried about you though. Me? Why? Think of it this way. I'm the appointed driver. When you decide to do some pretty reckless shit, I'll be there to drive you to the local hospital. Ugh. Besides, 2 is better than 1. Exactly. I was fine with Colby coming with me. Well, have you heard that 3 is better than 2? Mortimer Estate, 6 p.m. Passing through the countless dirt roads and steep cliffs, the estate can finally be seen beyond the evergreen. Nestled away from prying eyes, it stands tall, magnificent, and classic. Truly a rarity only afforded to the privileged, and yet, with all its opulence, it looms from a distance. Hugo and Noah could only gaze at the sheer scale of the manor. Grand stature topples easily over dozens of houses they drove past. Wow, look at the size of it. I could never imagine seeing a house like this in person. It's almost too surreal. Come on, she's waiting for us. Immediately after exiting the driver's seat, a sudden sharp pain weighs heavy on Hugo's chest. Grasping tightly at his coat, he begins to gasp for air. His vision hazes as he leans close to the car, trying desperately to ground himself. Like a fish drawn out of the sea, he desperately heaves. The air in his lungs, escaping too quickly, burns as he feels his throat start to strain, drawing tighter the more he breathes. But this pain pales in comparison to a feeling far more excruciating. Is it the house? No, something far more sinister. He feels it. Someone is watching him, a piercing gaze fixed on him like leering at a bug and waiting to strike. We'll be together soon, Henry. What the hell? Damn it already. I need to hurry or else. Hey, are you alright? Noah calls out to him, snapping him out of his fixated trance. Colby nudges his head against Hugo, whining with a concern over his partner's well-being. Did you hear that just now? Hear what? That voice. It was so close to my ear. Is everything alright? I'm fine. Don't mind me. I'm just a bit winded out from the trip, that's all. I'd be happy to make you tea at the very least. If it's not trouble. If it's no trouble. No, not at all. It's the least I can do. Once again, the subtle uneasiness from Nina surfaces. But before Hugo could get a chance to look further into it, she walked off towards the front porch without saying another word. Are you sure you're alright? You sounded like you were choking earlier. I said I'm fine. Besides, we're already here. We can't back out now. Listen to me. I think you should. Noah abruptly cuts his lecture short as he notices Nina stopping by the front door. She stands by the door silently, contemplating something. Just like before, but this time she seems even more anxious. Whatever unease she tried to mask earlier becomes more apparent the minute they walk closer to the front door. I haven't been quite honest with you, detective. Just like before, as if carefully choosing her next words, she decides that in this situation, words are not enough. You see for yourself what I mean. And with that, Nina enters the house, leaving the three to follow behind. Hugo is about to enter through the foyer when he feels a tug on his arm. Don't forget what I told you. If something happens, let me know right away. You'll be the first to know. And with that, Noah releases his grip on Hugo. They proceed to head in, not knowing what awaits them beyond the door. Greeted with a brightly lit hallway, Hugo notices immediately the interior is just as grand. Adorned with floral accents and antique furnishings, the house itself exudes the word elegance. A classic and rustic charm, with the walls and floorings made from the finest wood. Hugo couldn't help but gape when he walked in. However, he notices something even more distinct than the splendor. Behind the seemingly perfect veneer, an unsettling air wraps throughout the house, leaving no room for doubt that the inside is far more terrifying than the outside. Please come this way. Bracing themselves, they enter the dimly lit drawing room. At first glance, Hugo could not discern the silhouettes situated at the far corner. Only the sparse lightning from the window pierced through a fraction of the room's darkness. However, as they approached closer to the silhouette, Hugo now understands the reason for all of Nina's unsettling vagueness. Grandfather, we have guests. Sitting on the armchair is a very young man, not much older than Hugo or Noah. He is dressed modestly and shares none of the imposing presence of the manor. No, rather, such luxury does not even remotely reflect on the man before them at all. It is as if the flow of time had stopped only for him, while the rest had continued, changing drastically without him. Just like the leather, timeless, delicate, and jarringly out of place. Staring only at the window, the young man sits there, dazed with little acknowledgement of the people around him. Still, motionless, like a doll. Grandpa, these are the people I spoke of. This is Detective Laurent and his two assistants, Colby and Noah. They're going to help us. Even after introducing them to the head of the Mortimer estate, Hugo and Noah could not help but feel unnerved. The man before them is supposed to be the frail and older than any of them, and yet here he remains, forever unchanging, forever young. They come a long way, so I'll be making some tea. Would you like some, Grandpa? He does not reply back, nor does he glance at Nina or anyone else in the room, only fixates his gaze on the rain, nothing else. I'd be sure to make a cup for you too. She then timidly gestures to Hugo and Noah back to the foyer. Bearing more questions, the two follow Nina outside. But before they leave the drawing room, Hugo takes one last look at the young man. There's an all too familiar air about Henry Mortimer. His eyes, they are similar to his own. Whatever he must be longing for, Hugo knows it will never end well. Nina, that man. Yes, he's my grandfather, the one I asked you all to watch over. I know this is hard to believe, but Nina draws something out from her pocket. It's an old picture of a handsome man with a slicked back hair wearing the finest of suits. The gentleman in the picture has a different air to him, one of wealth and power. None of which reflects at all on the current Henry Mortimer. It's almost as if looking at two different people. This isn't much to go by, but believe me, they are the same person. Then why does he look so young? It happened a few nights ago. I was on my way to get a cup of water when I heard a loud thud coming from my grandfather's room. I was worried that something fell over, so I went to go check. When I opened the door, I found him collapsed on the ground. I rushed to help him up, but when I did, he looked so different. He wore the same clothes as my grandpa wore that night, and his face, I recognized his face. He looked younger. So many things were rushing through my head at the moment, and yet I knew he felt familiar to me. I know, it sounds bizarre the more I talk about it, but that's what happened. That was also the same night I found that letter. It was next to him, already opened. I'm sorry again for all of this. No matter who I went to, they either said something was wrong with me or my family. With everything going on, maybe they're right. The pools of water, the letters, Louis, and now this. I've been ignoring the signs for years and just blindly hoping things can get better if I try to finding solutions on my own. But that's not enough anymore. Maybe my family is really cursed. No, they're not. Curses aren't real. Detective. I think we easily get too involved in believing that sort of thing exists. In truth, the one who fixates on it makes it their reality. Rumors, thoughts, lies, all of those things are what they want to become. All of those things are what they want to become real. Deep-rooted emotions like that can't possibly be healed or fixed right away. But like a curse, those emotions drag other people down with them. Personally, I think you were caught up in all of this. But I assure you, we see this through. For you and Mr. Mortimer. Thank you. Good. Thank you. Good. Now, our first priority is to find out more about Louis. Nina, the letter you showed us back in the agency, do you have it with you? Ah, yes, it's here. Do you mind if I borrow it for a bit? I'll be sure to give it back. Of course, but what are you going to do with it? I searched everything on the letter and I still couldn't come up with clues. I'll be using it as a reference, or a guide if you will. I'm afraid I can't discuss too much of the process. Trade secrets and all. Yeah, of course. I check upstairs. Noah, you and Colby check the ground floor. Got it. Before they leave to do their own investigations, Hugo grabbed a hold of Noah's shoulder. He leans in, close enough for Nina to not hear. Keep a close eye on Mr. Mortimer and Nina. Especially Nina. I don't want her to be dragged any more than she already is. So whatever happens, keep her safe. Hugo, you... Fine, but remember, yell for me, okay? I know, thank you, Noah. I'm counting on you. You too, boy. After finding a lot of them, Hugo then goes towards the staircase and head upstairs. Noah stares for a moment longer at Hugo's back before he disappears into the first floor. He then turns to look at Kobe. Well, it's time we get to work. Right, Kobe? Investigation start. Ooh. So you can choose thing. The objective is to look around the area for objects to proceed the story. Cool. There's the arrow. Okay. Alright. Alright. Alright, cool. There are a couple of drawings here though. Where else can I click on that? Books. Okay. Guess we can. Doggy's not gonna do much for us here. Can we go here? Miss Mortimer still sits motionless by the corner of the room. Miss Mortimer still sits motionlessly. Mr. Mortimer still sits motionless by the corner of the room, his gaze never leaving the rain. An old rotary dial telephone. It looks like it's still in good use. A delicate arrangement of violets and white roses. They seem to be fresh and fairly new. A large bookshelf stands close to the entranceway. It contains a couple of photo albums and a few phone books. There's nothing else there, I guess. Frames decorating the walls are covered in white sheets, veiled with a thin lining of dust on top of each one. Wow, there are so many paintings covering the walls. Are there more like this all over the house? Yes, my grandfather commissioned many back in the day, but sadly he doesn't do that anymore. Nina, I can't help but notice the paintings are covered. How come? I did that. I covered them up for my grandfather's sake. For his sake? Yes, he was pretty obsessed with them, you see. There were times when he would mutter to himself and would just stare at the paintings for days on end. It worried me so much that I had to cover them all. Since then, he hasn't stared at any of them. He just sits quietly looking outside. I see. About the paintings, I also noticed they all have a similar theme. They all had water in them. I know this isn't a coincidence since you told us before, but if there's anything you know, anything at all, then please tell me. Noah, can I ask you a question first? Sure, go ahead. Do you believe in mermaids? That was a wrench in the entire thing. Mermaids? I don't suppose I do. Why? Casting her gaze to the floor, Nina anxiously pitches and tightly clasps her hands together. She then briefly sighs and continues, well, there's the story, or rather, more like a fairy tale that my family has passed down. A fairy tale? Yes, well, feels like one to me. It was about a fisherman who fell in love with a mermaid. Every day and night he would go out by the shore to gaze at her beauty, but one day she vanished, leaving him confused and heartbroken. Determined, he would sail many seas for a chance to see her again. Sailing from coast to coast, new lands beyond, and back he would go. Not long after, fortune followed him all throughout his journey and made him one of the wealthiest and most highly respected in his village. However, despite all the wealth he gained through his travels, he never found the mermaid again. She would only be a dream, nothing more. And that's the end of the story. It doesn't end happily, but I guess there was a lesson behind all of it. I just never understood it. What do you think happened to the mermaid? I know it's an exaggeration, yet I can't help but wonder. It's hard to say. I just feel bad for both of them. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of sad endings. If it were me, I would wish the fisherman and the mermaid could see each other again. Or at least, that's what I think. Even if they weren't meant to be with each other? Yeah, I think so at least. I don't want to imagine going through a journey all by myself. It's hard being alone. A journey all by yourself. Mortimer Estate, 11:30 p.m. After searching vigorously through each of the rooms, he knew his findings would eventually lead him here. This is it. Hugo walks towards the nearest lampshade and switches it on. Dimly illuminated, he sees the extent of how lavish this part of the house is. From the customized window drapes to the vintage furnishing, everything here exudes the extravagance. Much like the interior Hugo has seen so far, he finds this one in particular reeks of it. Plastered from wall to wall, a gloom lingers. It is as if the room itself is moldering despite its preserved nature. A meticulously organized set of academic books, ranging from non-fiction to geography, are all on display. However, hidden away behind the vast collection are some children's fairy tales, all carefully kept. A classic wooden chest lies at the foot of the canopy, but its lock still firmly holds, safeguarding whatever is inside. Scattered pieces of paper, all forgotten, lie waiting on the cold floor. Heavily attached markings are found scrawled all over the papers. A leather-bound journal rests on the edge of the table. Its pages are torn out so haphazardly that binding itself is starting to fall out. A pristine pearl white tea set sits patiently by, untouched and unused for quite some time. Atop the fireplace, unblemished and unmarked by time, hangs a curious and familiar painting of a beautiful woman floating on water. An old photo of a lost time, a sweet summertime memory of a little girl with her beloved grandfather. I need to hurry. I don't want... Well... No! I missed it. Whatever. Mortimer's estate. He searches and still there's no sign of Louis. To Hugo, even if there is a fragment, a singular thread to that person, to their real sleeves, he could find them. But there's nothing. Not one thing pertaining to him. It is as if the thought of Louis barely exists at all. What's going on? I clearly sensed the presence from before, but it's gone again. Damn it. I wish I had more time. No, calm down. It has to be here. I just need to focus. He ponders again, retracting every step and every little detail, hoping that he overlooked something. Yet, all he knows is that the one tangible thing that connects him, that tethers so closely to this place, and most of all to Henry, is the letter. Words of promise, of love, all delicately attached onto a page, but tainted with a powerful and dark emotion that has been festering for too long. Tainted. From the very start of all of this, Hugo believed that whoever Louis was, they were the ones responsible. He thought he could find them and convince them to stop their hunting for good, to bring them peace and to move on. However, this isn't the case anymore. The natural forces that binds everyone so closely together in this family is not the cause of an angry spirit. No, something far more devious than that. As he takes the letter out from the envelope, he notices a change within it, bearing no foreboding thread at the bottom of the page. It looks just like a regular letter, or rather, what it once was, a sad and tragic love. If you can't come, then I understand. Things have gotten more complicated with your mother ever since she found out about us, right? I'm sorry, Henry, for everything. hurts to see you so torn up like this. I would never hurt you or drag you along with me. If this is to be our farewell, then can I ask you one last favor? Could you keep my locket? I know this is selfish of me, but I'd like for you to have it. I'd be happy to know it's safe with you. My heart will forever be yours. Henry, with love. With love, always, Lewis. This was the true letter. A small warmth emanates from the paper, wrapping closely around his fingers, quiet and soothing. The fragment Hugo was searching for. Lewis, I'm so sorry. Lewis, I'm sorry. You were also a victim in all of this too. Please, if you can't hear me, I need your help. Without warning, the sound of a click can be heard across their bedroom, as if something unlocked itself. Hugo turns his head towards the sound and sees the chest. Unlike the other furniture, its dark and rustic features have not been maintained well, left to rot on its own. Suddenly he stops at the sound of a voice, a sweet voice whispering to him, beckoning him towards the fireplace. Come here, my dear sweet boy. Go to the painting. Don't go to the painting. Oh boy. Should we do it? I feel like we absolutely should not listen to this. You know what? For a story, let's go to the painting. There, mounted by the fireplace, is a painting of a beautiful woman floating on water. Her pale skin is incandescent, brilliantly prominent against the contrast of the dark, murky waters that keep her hidden, keep her bound to the canvas. Hugo stares intensely at the picture. An empathetic sorrow swells within him, disarming his very sense and forcing him to inch closer, surrendering himself the sweet song. Poor thing, how lonely you must feel. You are a lot like him, like Henry. As Hugo approaches closer and closer to the painting, and his mind screaming to run, he sees it. He can finally see beyond the facade the lady portrays, for what the painting truly is. But don't worry, I can take away that sadness. A deformed creature, mermaid, floats above the surface. The voice whispers. Large, hollow eyes stare back, boring deeply into his eyes. Her skin is melting, bleeding heavily, this black ichor as it gushes out from the canvas. Some of it starts to hit not only the floor, but at Hugo as well. The black viscous tar clings persistently onto him, unrelentless as they continue to pile up, and then he feels it. What drew him initially to this thing, a deep sense of longing, rushes through him, snuffing out what little control he had left, finally embracing this nature to come home. Take my hand. Without hesitation, Hugo reaches out his hand while his body leans in closer to the mermaid. She grabs and pulls him in. Not once looking back, he dives and follows after her, returning to nothing. Okay, going to the painting. Alright, so going to the painting ended up in our death. So we can't. So we don't go to the painting. No. Stay focused, Hugo. I won't let it get to me. Preparing himself, he heads towards the chest and opens it. Inside, scrambled together, are bunches of notebooks and small trinkets. Hugo continues to rummage through when he stumbles across an old newspaper article. Young man found dead by the lake. An unidentified young man was found on the morning of 3 days prior to his death, according to the police. Ruled as a suicide, police have claimed that the troubled youth drowned himself. This certainly is a tragic loss, an unfortunate event indeed. Comments. No claim of his body has been made yet. Lewis. By the corner of Hugo's eyes, he spots a bright glint buried beneath the clutter. He reaches for it. A locket of brilliant gold shines, unblemished, retaining a timeless luster. Inside, it safeguards a picture of a young man with glasses smiling brightly. This must be the locket that he was talking about. It's so pretty. I'm surprised it still shines like this. And this picture, did he put this here? No, it might have been Henry. But why would he store it away like this? What should I do? Let's take the locket. I should probably hold on this for now. Take it to him, please. Louis! A gentle but distant plea echoes in Hugo's heart. A forgotten ache of yearning and regret grips him deeply. Feelings not of his own start to rise like small ripples on a pond, wanting to be found again and remembered. Don't worry, I bring it to him. I'll make sure of it. Hugo is about to put everything back into the chest when he feels a wet and cold sensation crawling up his leg. What? Water? A pool of water relentlessly spreads across the floor, already seeping into the chest. Damn it, no! Suddenly, the light shuts off. A scream is heard, followed by a myriad of shouts. Hugo is about to call out to Noah, but stops at the sight of a pale feet before him. Looming over him stands a tall and ominous figure. His face is shrouded in complete darkness, devoid of any human emotion. It appears as a young man, but Hugo knows that it's far from it. No, this very thing is trying to imitate human form. Trying to be human. Hugo could only stare back. Paralyzed with fear, he is forced to watch the horror as it slowly creeps towards him. It's just like before, the sensation of someone staring at him from within. But this time, it's drawing nearer, inching ever so closely. The words to call out to Colby or Noah fail to reach out. Lodged in his throat, he struggles in pain. With his breathing shallow, he tries to force his body to move. And then it stops. Looking down at Hugo, filled with nothing but malice and contempt, it speaks. Don't get in my way. All of a sudden, the door to the bedroom slams shut and the entity disappears. The tension from his body finally releases its agonizing grip and he gasps desperately for air. His vision blurs and his breathing is haggard. He staggers towards the door. He yanks at the handle several times, but it's tightly jammed. Fuck! Noah! Colby! To his dismay, he's only greeted with silence at the other end of the door. Damn it! From a distance, he faintly hears the sound of Colby's relentless barking as it gets further away from the house. Hugo rushes towards the window. He tries to pry it open, but just like the door, a heavy force prevents him from doing so. Like being underwater, his movements slow and drawn out, as if being dragged down by that thing. Fuck this! Frantically looking around the room, he spots a nearby chair. Without a moment sooner, Hugo grabs the chair and starts to strike the window. Bit by bit, the window cracks get larger with each blow, splitting off smaller pieces. What the hell is this thing made of? Still trying to catch his breath, he musters all the strength he has left for a final blow. Damn you, just break already! Clearing out the remaining glass shards, Hugo peers his head out to see any railings he can grab hold of. However, he discovers instead that the wall adjacent is covered in ivy. Despite how heavy the rain has drastically become, he reaches out for it, grabbing a handful of the vines. Carefully, he climbs out the window, gripping tightly and making sure he doesn't lose his footing. Yet, to his luck, the patch of vines he clutches starts to tear away from the wall. Out of desperation, he struggles to find his grip on another, but fails when his hand slips out of reach. Shit! Clambering wildly as he loses grip on the ivy, he crash lands down on the thick. Clambering wildly as he loses grip on the ivy, he crash lands down onto a thicket of bushes. Air forced out of him, he heaves uncontrollably, trying to even out his breathing. But even that is laborious. An immense pain spreads across not only his back, but his entire body. God, I'm getting too old for this. Although his body screams out in pain, he forces himself up. There's still time. I can do this. I have to do this. With staggering feet and haggard breathing, he makes his way to the place where it all started. To the lake, where this tragedy starts and ends. Lake. Unknown time. Finally entering through the park, Hugo calls out to Colby and Noah. Colby! Noah! Where are you? He hears faintly the sounds of barking and echoes of people yelling in the distance. He rushes towards the echoes, guiding him through the downpour. With his heart racing and blood rushing to his head, he finds his way to the lake. Drawing closer, he sees Nina giving chase to her grandfather. Unfortunately, she doesn't get too far as Noah stops her. Grandpa! Stop! Grandpa! Let me go! My grandpa, he is... No, Nina, this is dangerous. You get hurt too. I don't care. Don't want to lose anyone anymore. It is at that instant Hugo trudges against the water, pursuing in Nina's stead. Hugo! No, don't. Please, falls deaf to his ears. Not even the whines and worried cries of his partner could make him turn back. Determined, he forges ahead. Nearing the deep end of the lake, he sees Henry Mortimer gazing directly at the abyss. He looks even more frail and disheveled than before. It as if all the life he lived up until this point has begun to fry, draining every ounce of him and surrendering it all to the lake. Before Henry could lean in, Hugo reaches out and tugs at his arm. Mr. Mortimer, listen to me. Nothing is waiting for you down there, so please come back to the shore with me. Motionless and unresponsive, he stares deeply into the water. The haze over his eyes is still obscure. The haze over his eyes is still obscure and persistent. There's so many things we can't afford to lose in our lives, and you are one of them. To Nina, you are all she has left. She needs you, Mr. Mortimer. Hugo felt it, a slight jolt from Henry's arm, as if stirred by the mention of Nina. He slowly turns to face Hugo. Nina. However, just as cruel and violent as a storm, Henry jerks back, wrenching his arm away from Hugo's hold on him. No, all of this is my fault. If only I got to Louis sooner, then none of this would have happened. He was waiting for me, was patient with me, and yet, for all the things he's done, I chose my family over him. He's gone because I didn't pick him. Henry backs further away from the shoreline. Mr. Mortimer, his manic eyes never straying away from Hugo, as he keeps his distance from him. Louis, I'm sorry. I was the one who dragged you into this. You deserved so much more. And I wished. Henry struggles over his words. He clasps tightly to his shirt, his throat dry and taut from all that he has bottled up. He clasps tightly to his shirt, his throat dry and taut from all that he has bottled up, from all those repressed and silent years of just waiting for his curse to finally take him. I wished I had gone with you that night, Louis. Sir, even if you still covet that wish, it wouldn't resolve anything. Not for you or Lois. I read what he wrote to you those years ago. He understood. If you didn't want to come see him. But the thing is, Mr. Mortimer, Louis never thought anything less of you. He said so in his letter to you. His letters? For the longest time, I wanted to believe he hated me for that, resented me for that choice. Or at least, I thought it was easier for me to think that way. How long has it been since I talked about him? It's been too long, sir. But that's why. But that's why you don't have to shoulder all of that pain by yourself anymore. We can talk about it. About you and Lois. All of it. Together. Hugo extends not only his hand to him, but a promise. A promise that Henry had yearned for so long. A promise that Henry had yearned for so long. A way to forgive himself. He hesitates at first. What a fool believes in a deserved forgiveness. Such a thing doesn't exist. And yet, despite everything, Hugo still reaches out to him, to a stranger. Maybe he can be forgiven. Just as he was about to reach out for Hugo, a hand slithers around Henry instead. Its arms unnaturally contort around him while its head perches on his shoulder. This thing, this Lewis, is no longer. This thong, this Lois is no longer. Okay, I shouldn't do that. This thing, this Lois, is no longer pretending to be human. With piercing, cold green eyes, it glares directly at Hugo, mocking him, cursing him, wishing nothing but despair. We can be saved. We can be forgiven. There is only one true way out of this. I will share with you the most happiest of endings. Before Hugo could reach out for Henry's hand, he disappears into the water. Mr. Mortimer! Mr. Mortimer! Without hearing the anguished cries and desperate pleas, Hugo dives after him into the abyss. Unknown place, unknown time. Plunging into icy waters, Hugo feels shocks running rampant through his body. Say throughout? Plunging into icy waters, Hugo feels shocks running rampant throughout his body. Like spikes continuously piercing from his legs to the tips of his fingers, fiercely and unyielding. His chest tightens and his heart races as he begins to kick his legs, hoping, whichever way he goes, he'll find his way to Henry. Swimming deeper and deeper in, he sees faintly a figure slowly descending into the darkness. As he finally gets closer to Henry, long snake-like arm stretches across the void and grab Hugo's neck, violently squeezing all the air out from him. He tries desperately to wrench its hands away, but with each struggle, Hugo's movement begins to weigh heavier and heavier. Lewis, where are you, Lewis? It's looking for Lewis. Digging deep into his coat pocket, he grabs tightly in his hand the locket that Henry kept and had long forgotten, holding it out as it shines ever so brightly in the dark. Ah, there you are. It releases its grips on Hugo and instead reaches out for the locket. Taking this as a chance, he drops the chain and kicks with all his might to grab Henry's arm. With his heart and body screaming in pain, he swims desperately to the surface. Almost there! I just have to... As the lights from the surface begin to blur, Hugo makes one last attempt to reach for it. With his limbs worn out and his energy spent, this is all he can do. Before he loses his consciousness, he notices a figure swimming towards them, getting closer and closer, and then everything fades to black. Unknown place, unknown time. Drifting along with what feels like an endless sea, Hugo courses through a wave after wave, not knowing where he's going or caring for that matter. All he knows is that he is very, very tired. How long has it been since he had a good night's rest? Ah, it's been so long. It's been too long. Maybe I should take that rest now. I like that so much. I agree that you deserve it, but not here. I'm sorry for startling you. I just wanted to see you one last time before I go. Lewis, you've done so much for me and Henry. I can't thank you enough. No worries. I want to thank you, too, for watching over me. And also, I want to apologize for my remarks from before. I really thought that I had things figured out once I found you, but you know how that turned out for me. It's alright, really. After all this time, I don't think anyone could hear me. Especially Henry. Lewis. I was worried about him for a long time. He always wanted to keep me away from his personal struggles, to keep me safe from them. But I was too stubborn for my own good. Honestly, I don't regret it. Any of it. Even if I could no longer reach out to Henry. Fate waved this thread back to you. Our tangent, connecting us once more to this very moment. And for that, I am forever grateful to you, Hugo. You are welcome, Lewis. From a far-off distance, Hugo hears a voice crying out to him, beckoning for him to return. Well, they're waiting for you. I guess they really are, huh? Take care. Always. Take care always. Hugo. You too, Lois. Lake. Unknown time. With his eyes closed and his senses still returning, he feels the constant tugs and licks of a certain bloodhound. Whining as he tries to wake up his partner. Hugo! He also hears another familiar voice, too annoyingly close for comfort. Eyes shut right open, he jerks up. Confused, Hugo looks around before he coughs up the remaining water in his lungs. Are you alright? Noah starts to pat his back while Colby continues to whine over Hugo. What happened? Where's Mr. Mortimer? He's safe. So is Nina. They're both okay. The police and the ambulance should be arriving soon. Thank goodness. Isn't there more you have to say to me? Instead of, thank goodness, I swear you don't listen to a damn word I say. I'm sorry, Noah. Exhausted, he lets out a sigh. He then continues to pat Hugo's back aggressively when someone approaches them. Detective Laurent? Oh, Nina. There's someone I want you to meet. Behind her stands an elderly man. Frail in stature, he timidly looks to the side, pensively as he ponders to himself. Although his youth has long faded, his eyes are what catches Hugo's attention. They are no longer a piercing and vicious green, only eyes, just like Nina's. Hello, Mr. Mortimer. Detective. I never got the chance to say goodbye to him. I always thought about it every day. What if Lois lived on in this world? What if he stayed a little longer with me? It is because of the constant mindset I dragged everyone down. And I kept hurting not only me, but Nina especially. I was the one who kept hurting her, the one to blame for all of this. But you, someone that I never met, still went out of your way to save me. Not knowing my burdens or my faults. Thank you. Hugo reaches out to Henry and smiles brightly at him. It is my pleasure, sir. But before he lets go, Henry tugs at Hugo's hands one last time. I hope that someday you too will overcome it. The next day, 8 a.m. Well, good morning, Hugo. You are bright and early. Morning. With much fervor and haste, Hugo resumes writing on his notepad. Although, by closer inspection, it looks like he's going to combust any minute. Are you writing up the report? Without looking up, Hugo responds back. Yeah, for the most part. You still need to write yours too. I will. But since I haven't had breakfast yet, and I don't like eating it myself. Let me guess. 2 is better than 1? Bingo. Wow, Hugo, you're really catching on. I'm so proud of you. Ugh, shut it, will you? I swear, if only I hadn't fallen off from that goddamn window, maybe my report would have been shorter. Before Noah could begin to cut the bacon, he pauses at the mention of Hugo's report. Oh, yeah, by the way, am I telling you what happened to the Mortimeyer's window? I broke it. Well, that's obvious to me. What I don't understand is, why is it broken? Do you know how much it costs to repair a window like that? I know. It was really dumb of me. I'm sorry. Besides, I told Mr. Mortimer about it before we left. Honestly, I was expecting an earful from him. And also the bill. And, surprisingly enough, he said it was okay. Lucky us, right? So what? You just called it a day after all of that? Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mortimer. You broke it. You pay for it. Would you chill? Of course I'd pay for it. But each time I kept insisting, he just shrugged it off. Said that we already went through a lot for them. So this was nothing in comparison. You know what? He is right. After all of that we went through, we deserve at least a nap. But before he could walk away, he stops and sees a familiar person walking towards the storefront, carrying something with her. Good morning. Good morning, you two. Just barely a foot through the door, a certain bloodhound stirs up from his resting spot and makes his way towards Nina, tail uncontrollably wagging. Ah, good morning to you too, Colby. Nina scratches behind one of Colby's ears, making his right foot unconsciously move on his own, scratching an invisible but desirable spot for him. Good morning, Miss Nina. Morning. What brings you here this time around? Is everything alright with your grandfather? Yeah, he's doing pretty well, actually. Even better than before. We talked so much last night, I hardly slept at all. But honestly, it's been a while since I last spoke to him so freely like that. I hardly felt tired at all. That's wonderful to hear. But there's something else I wanted to ask you, the both of you, for. To put it bluntly, I need your help. If you two aren't busy, I would like some company eating these. Inside a clear plastic bag are a stack of 2 boxes placed on top of one another. She opens the box on top and reveals a colorful array of neatly decorated donuts all lined up perfectly. No cramped or squished spaces. A work of art in Hugo's eyes. Wow, so pretty. Donuts? They look so delicious. We are more than happy to eat these with you, Nina. There he goes again with his donuts. But yes, please join us, Miss Nina. We were about to have our breakfast too. Weren't we, Kuya? Hump. Always so brazen in front of others. You do make it exceptionally easy for me. You both have such a great chemistry with each other. On second thought, I'm way too tired for this. I'm going to have to apologize in advance for this, Nina. But truthfully, I've been running on last night's coffee and I am about to pass out any minute now. No worries. Honestly, I think a little break time sound like what you all need right now. Thanks. Hugo puts down his pen and proceeds to head for a couch. Colby follows after him. Would you like to join us, Miss Nina? I would love to. I guess we save these for later then. Yes, please do. Yes, please do. Come on, it's nap time. Noah sighs heavily before setting down the foot on his desk. He then gestures Nina towards the sofa, in which she happily takes his offer and joins them. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I mean, you are old. Shut it. This is really nice. Oh, good boy, Colby. Come here. Nina quietly coos at him and begins to scratch at the back of Colby's ears once more. Hugo leans a little closer to Noah, his voice above a whisper, but close enough for Noah to only hear him. You know, I'm glad that you came along yesterday. Oh, what is this? Are you getting chummy with me now? Call it chummy or whatever, but I really mean it. If you hadn't saved us back there. Look, I told you before, I'll be there whenever you get yourself into reckless shit. Besides, didn't you say this was a nap time? Get some rest, you deserve it. You too. A calming silence fills the room as they bask under the morning glow. No big parties or celebrations. Just each other's company and sharing this small reward. A small and warm comfort. Good end. Case closed. Alright, let's actually check if what happens if we don't pick up the locket. Before Rico could reach out to Henry's hand, he disappears in the water. Mr. Mortimer! Without hearing the anguished cries and desperate pleas, Hugo dives after him into the abyss. Unknown place, unknown time. Plunging into ice waters, Hugo feels shocks running rampant through his body, like spikes continuously piercing from his leg to the tips of his fingers, fiercely and unyielding. His chest tightens and his heart races as he begins to kick his legs, hoping, whichever way he goes, he finds his way to Henry. Swimming deeper and deeper in, he sees, faintly, a figure slowly descending into the darkness. As he finally gets closer to Henry, long snake-like arms stretch across the void and grab Hugo's neck, violently squeezing all the air out from him. He tries desperately to wrench his hands away, but with each struggle, Hugo's movement begins to weigh heavier and heavier, water filling into his lungs as his vision starts to blur. The cold numbness spreads. Tired and motionless, he watches on as the abyss draws nearer, swallowing him, embracing him. Let's share this happy ending together. He feels nothing, his body weightless and floating for who knows how long. It's cold, so very, very cold. How long has it been since he felt this? This empty feeling of just not being in here or anywhere. It's comforting and nostalgic. Maybe, just maybe, this isn't so bad after all. I think this is for the best. Oh no, it's far, far from over, Hugo. After all, you said so yourself. Seeing the things you do come with a price, right? And oh, what a hefty price has been paid for your stupid little blunder. So get up, Hugo. We are far from having a happy ending. Hugo! Hugo's eyes shut right open, his vision disoriented and on a blur, as he tries to focus on Noah's voice. A violent tide bursts within him as he coughs out the remaining water in his lungs. He can feel Noah's hands rub against his back, anchoring him and checking to see if he's alright. But deep down, there's something far more concerning to worry about at this moment. Where's Mr. Mortimer? I'm sorry, Hugo. I tried going back in the water after I fetched you, but the paramedics stopped me. They told me it was too cold and dangerous to head back in. No, it can't be. I'm so sorry, Hugo. No, please, God, no! He couldn't hear the rest of it. His body trembles as his hand claps tightly together in a fervent prayer, wishing for a miracle to happen before them, to have Mr. Mortimer return to them finally safe from harm. But for this silent wish, a small and glaringly impossible wish, no one would answer. There was no kindness in this sunrise, only the gut-wrenching wails of a woman by the shore, pleading to any god who can save her grandfather. But no matter how many would try to search through the water, they wouldn't be able to find him, for there was no one left to save anymore. Just a washed-up, forgotten tale of a man and his mermaid. As Hugo tries to stifle his cry and soothe the lump lodged deeply in his throat, he hears it. A laugh, a cruel and heartless laugh echoes from across the lake, mocking him, cursing him, A harrowing and merciless victory for this curse. A curse. It was a curse after all. Yeah. Bad end, The Mermaid's Tale. Alright. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I really enjoyed. Actually, the writing style was good. Everything else was good. It felt like that's a good quality game. I really enjoyed it. I hope, really hope, you make a series of this detective Hugo and his cases and whatever. It was really nice. I hope they continue to make more of this.